Satnam. Today we wanted to just share a little bit about our journey, about how we came to Kundalini Yoga as taught by Yogi Bhajan. And I'll go first because I came to the practice first. Both Tiaga, Prem, and I have a background in Ashtanga Yoga. He was practicing Yoga under James for a long time, and I was in the Sara community, and we both really enjoyed those practices and still practice Hatha Yoga postures. But when I was pregnant with our daughter Marley is when I came to Kundalini Yoga, and I really loved that it got me out of the form that I love about Hatha Yoga practices, is having that alignment and knowing where your wrist is and your ribs are and your particular body. But I was also someone who struggled in my life with some neuroses around the body dysmorphia, and also at that time of my life when I was in my pregnancy and my body was changing so dramatically, it was really refreshing for me to come to Kundalini Yoga, where there was not any focus on the body necessarily, but moving beyond the form and doing really bizarre movements where I was having to face my mind. And in doing that, in these deep meditative experiences that I was having, and also receiving a lot of energetic benefits that I hadn't experienced previous in my yoga practice, it became a very powerful tool for me to move through my pregnancy and into my labor very confidently, and have that real strong grip on my mind, recognizing that I am not this body, but I have this powerful tool of being able to channel my energy and use my mind as an ally, right, to be in this intense pressure of my labor. So that started my journey with Kundalini Yoga, and after the birth of my daughter, I kept seeking more knowledge, and eventually led me to a teacher training, which I knew that was going to be, my next step in gaining more knowledge in my yogic career. I really wanted to do a Kundalini training, and all the while you were watching me, seeing me getting some benefits, but he was on his own journey with Dharma as his teacher, and so maybe I'll let you share a little bit about how you came into that.
Yeah, I guess the big eye-opener for me was meeting somebody like Guru Singh, who's a mentor and a teacher to me, who is so free, even in his 70s, to express himself through music and to express himself as a householder, as a great grandfather, not great-grandfather, but a very good grandfather and father and husband, and that's a primary focus for him in his life, in his spiritual practice, and that really resonated with me. And then the other thing is as Sarah Jade touched on, is the steadiness that comes with Kundalini Yoga. I'm a very intellectual person. I like moving the body, and I like to learn everything. I have a very pitta dosha from the Ayurvedic standpoint, so I want to cover all the bases and learn everything. But in doing that with the body and the intellect, you may not learn steadiness, like where you just need to stay with it within the meditation. And that's what I've learned from Kundalini Yoga. On top of this, influence from my teacher of, you need to not forget who you are in the process of doing these practices, but do these practices to enhance who you are, to make you a better business person, to make you a better father, to make you a better partner, to enjoy your gifts and talents even more fully. And Kundalini Yoga is so great for that, because it provides you with some tools to stay steady when you're doing things that you don't like, and to stay steady when you're doing things you do like. And that's such a crucial thing in this life, not to just say, oh, well, this feels good for me, so I'm just going to do this, and this doesn't feel good, so I'm going to avoid it. And that's been a big one, especially even with addiction and recovery.
We didn't abandon those other practices. They still very much are integrated in our life as yogis. You have a physical body, therefore you need to move your body and keep your body flexible and strong. And so we both have a practice, and in fact I feel like my practice is stronger than ever due to the fact I utilize the technology of Kundalini Yoga as well as. And on my journey of Kundalini, I was this journey kind of into motherhood, and Yogi Bhajan's women's teachings really resonated for me. And so I was leaning into that, and I was watching Tiaga Prem struggle with his addiction. And I was not, saying, oh, come over here and look at this, but he eventually came to it and had his own experience with it. And I just think that it's important to note that the other practices weren't really working until he came and was able to do the deep subconscious work and clearing some of those habitual patterns, that he was able to, find his true self and hold that integrity that he has always been seeking for. I don't want to speak for you, but this is just through my observation as his partner and someone that, kind of stood by as he tried to figure it out. And I knew, Guru Singh is an elder teacher and has, 40, 50 years of practice under his belt. And I know that really is something that appeals to Tiaga Prem, is having, people who have depth. Tina James, it's no wonder that was his mentor for so long. He really wanted to be with someone who has, depth, spiritual, yogic knowledge, Dharma Mitra, living a life of devotion and service to this path as a means to uplift others. And so when Guru Singh came to town, and being a Kundalini yogi myself at that point, I was like, this might be worth someone checking out. And so that's kind of, I feel like, was his gateway to having an experience was having a really good teacher. And so, it is our path and privilege now to impart these teachings that our teachers have shared with us as a means to, for you, if you're new to the practice, to have some kind of an experience. And it isn't about, the way that it's always been. It's about developing a relationship with it that works within your lifestyle. Because I'll tell you, as a new mom, I wasn't getting up for the aquarium sadhana. Sleep is extremely valuable, and we value our sleep, honor our sleep, but that's not just to throw out aquarium sadhana either. It's important that you have some deep subconscious cleansing to do. Maybe you need to do a year of sadhana at 3 a.m., But I think there's an access as an entry point for everyone, and whether it's just a simple 3-minute meditation, we're going to be sharing a lot more meditations through this avenue, whether it's committing to coming to class once a week, or it is getting up chanting with your baby. Those are all beautiful ways in which you can start to develop a relationship with Kundalini Yoga as a means to access higher mind.
And I think that's the great thing about Kundalini Yoga too, is it provides you with an opportunity to meet yourself where you're at. So, like you were saying, let's say really all you have is 3 minutes every day to spend some time with a mantra. That will be effective if you commit to doing it and you do it. Or maybe, if you're really struggling and you need some more structure in your life, maybe you commit to getting up at a certain time or going to bed early. Or there's all of these ways to approach it. It's not like, oh, I've got to get more disciplined so that I can become more flexible. There's so many ways to approach it. And especially for people who are interested in music, that's the common through line for me from the beginning of this. That's what drew me to David and Sharon, was the music and the sound. And then the time with Kundalini Yoga is, how can you live a life where sound is the primary devotional practice, and that's how does sound relate to your life? Because to me, that is the greatest medicine that there is, and that's the central focus of Kundalini Yoga, is sound as teacher.
I think it's all the sounds of the street today. I think it's really important to reflect on that as a Hatha Yoga practitioner as well, is if you're doing your yoga practice and all you're thinking about is where's my wrist, where's my knee, where are my ribs. If that's providing you, mental clarity and more space in your mind, wonderful, keep doing that. But if your sound current is actually, in judgment and criticism of that form, of this physical body that eventually is going to become this, then you might need to check in and see if there's some other kind of mantra, some other positive sound current that you could be inserting while you do your yoga practice. And it doesn't need to be in Sanskrit, in Gurmukhi. It can be simply as breathing in, I am love, or, some other it's about inserting that positive sound current so that you can start to shake up those negative brain waves that are holding you back from experiencing yourself, capital S.
Yeah, there's no question that I think that your purpose as a human is your ability to hold a high frequency, and what can you do to get to that place where you are holding that high frequency. And there's so many ways to do it, and the science of yoga and the science of Ayurveda and the science of living is how do you get yourself to a place where you're a container that's holding a high frequency, whether it means spending more time with your family, spending more time with the music that you love, spending more time in the garden. There's so many ways to approach it. So I just want to remind you that that's the whole purpose of all of this. And also to reiterate what Sarah Jade said, for me, moving my body is part of that. I go to hatha yoga classes. I love to play basketball. I love to be outside in nature. Really what we want to impart through sharing these videos with you is this idea that this isn't about rules and it isn't about belief systems. This is about how can you create a container so that you can be really free of any sort of like, I don't measure up, or I'm too busy, or life is too stressful, and get to a place where you're fully standing in your vitality and your truth. And there are a lot of practices like meditation and yoga that can support you to do that. But ultimately, it's a letting go of anything that's not you more than it is becoming something outside of you.
And Kundalini Yoga was both an entry point for us to start to really experience that within ourselves, independently of each other. And we have a center where we share Kundalini Yoga, and it's a passion of ours. So if you're curious about the practice, if you feel like it's weird, you're not alone. I felt like it was super weird. I didn't want to do it. I was very, very closed in that way, where I was like, I have my practice. It looks like 5 A's, and it looks like 5 B's, and it looks like me trying to get the next thing. And when I let go of that and actually allowed myself to surrender and have an experience, I found that there was a lot more available that I wasn't experiencing. And I am so grateful that I was able to surrender and have that experience, and now have an opportunity to share from that place of experience. So I think that's it.
Yeah, it's all about getting more free so that you can do the things that you love, be with the people that you love, and be of service on our planet as a human being.
Satnam.
Satnam.